Welcome to this week's episode of Listen to Your Coaches. I'm your coach, Mike Wilkins, here with Coach Will Morrill. This week, we're going to break down the CJI and ADCC tournaments that just happened. We'll talk a little UFC, and then we'll cap it off with some Stout PGH fight news and some happenings.
All fun things. I think mostly it's going to be CJI because, in my mind, that's the event that dominated the weekend, at least in for our attention.
Yeah.
So I got a bunch of stats and questions and stuff for you here. We'll keep us on pace. First thing, do you think that this was the greatest jiu-jitsu event of all time?
Yeah, I do. I think it was. It was incredibly exciting. Had great matches. And I think also like something that's really exciting, the viewership was through the roof. I really liked how it was, first off, free and available to everybody, especially for these first ones before it becomes like an established thing. And there were times where we were watching it backstage at the fights we were recording, at the Made Men fights we were recording this weekend, and we would just see that little number in the bottom right-hand corner, 148,000, 162,000, like crazy.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because like even in the corner, like other guys in the locker room would like roll over and be like, "Oh, what's going on?" Like we chat about jiu-jitsu and stuff, whereas like, it's not like you and I are not friendly, but we're normally not like just like chatting with random people, you know what I mean? At least, especially not me. I'm super introverted. And then just like,
I'm in the chat with random
people. You do that.
I love it.
But like, it really like, it felt like it brought people together on like many levels.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like up until now, the 2022 ADCC was like the event. You know what I mean? It was big. I mean, like just objectively, like it was in, a large arena.
It was
the same one that CJI was in.
CJI was in,
decent production value. Like it felt big, you know what I mean? And I think that CJI just blew that out of the water. So
yeah, absolutely. And another thing that I think though, and like maybe I know you have a bunch of notes, I have nothing.
Surprise.
But I also think like CJI like was awesome, but like there's still like it's almost good that it wasn't as good as it gets.
Exactly.
Right? Like it's like, man, this was the best event that the best jiu-jitsu event I've ever been involved in as a fan or a participant or anything amongst those. And I saw tons of room for improvement.
Yeah.
So that's like, not like dissing it, like, there was room for improvement. No, like it was the best, and there's still things you can do to make it better.
It's like winning a fight, but getting good data for the next, it's just like all things good.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, that actually just kind of reminded me, like, and I didn't write this in my notes, but the way I kind of think about, like, especially comparing like ADCC and past jiu-jitsu events with CJI is like, when I watch ADCC, to me, it feels like any other jiu-jitsu tournament that like I've been a part of, right? So for anyone who doesn't know, I'm like very low level jiu-jitsu, you know what I mean? Like, I'm doing like blue belt Naga, stuff like that. And to me, when I like did, blue belt tournaments and then I'd watch ADCC, it just felt like, it's the same thing, but it's just like higher prestige, more people looking, a little bit of production value. It's kind of like, it's like wrestling. They show your names on the screen, like nothing crazy. But it felt like the same thing. CJI, I was watching that and I was like, I've never done anything like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It felt so like different. But anyways, let's get into some of the other things. So you already touched on this, the viewership numbers for CJI. Dude, huge. Apparently they never went below 100,000 like live, which for what was it, 10 hours and then like 8 hours or something like that. Like
it was from 6, so we're gonna go Eastern time just because I don't feel like converting. 6 p.m. to 4 a.m. So 10 hours.
Unreal.
And then Saturday started at 8 p.m. and I don't know.
It doesn't matter, but to have that much time with that many viewers,
I think it was like a little over 4 hours on Saturday, so 14 hours.
Yeah.
14 plus hours.
So the last numbers I saw, and again, we're recording this on Monday afternoon, is that they totaled 1.8 million views for day one and 1.4 for day two. And that's just as of now. Like people are going to still watch this. Like someone might watch this podcast and be like, "Oh, I didn't even know that event happened," and then go and watch
I rewatched the match today.
I hadn't even watched a I
so
haven't
I'm
full
adding
match.
to that.
Right.
Am I adding to that number?
I don't know.
Or the fact that it comes off of my account that I'd already watched. Because like when I pulled it up to rewatch it, it showed that I had already watched it, right? Like the red line that I've watched through.
You are asking questions that I don't have the answer to. I'll look at like the analytics for like
I don't think it really
our
matters.
things. I don't think either.
Matters.
But I'm like, I don't know what any of this means.
It was just a question that popped in my head, so I said it. And that's the spirit of this podcast is it's just a look into a conversation.
Dude, and not only that, I think we mentioned this on the pod last time, but I was reminded of it because last night I was watching one of those like 90s documentaries, like Best of the 90s or like whatever. And I think that's how you and I like to run our conversations, whether we're on pod or just in private, is like we're good with not knowing stuff.
Oh yeah,
we don't have to Google it.
Didn't we bring that up on the last pod? It was like, oh, we have a phone right here. It's like, I'd rather not. We could Google it. Like,
I forget if that was on or off. Doesn't matter.
Okay, but we spoke about how like it's like, oh, we could just there's a phone in your pocket. We could just Google it. Like, rather not.
No, we our conversations are 90s style.
Yeah.
But anyways, so if we compare those numbers to ADCC, they were hovering around 10,000 views on YouTube for day one, and then when they went behind a paywall, we don't know.
Yeah, we're not going to know.
Now, do you think that them putting day one on YouTube for free, do you think that was a reaction to CJI?
Excuse me?
Have they done that in the past, is what I'm asking?
Day one was on YouTube?
ADCC's.
Was on YouTube?
I think so.
I don't think it was.
Really?
I don't think it was.
I was looking these up, and I saw that it was like day one on YouTube.
I thought that was maybe the bracket reveals.
I could be wrong on that, And again, we could look it up, but we won't. But
we won't. Yeah, so that's news to me that day one was on YouTube. Mm-hmm. So you're saying day one got 10,000 views?
Based on like the half article I read about the numbers, yes.
I refuse to believe that.
You could very well be right. I don't know. If they did do that.
Here goes what I think. I don't think there were many. So if there was 100,000 people watching CJI, mm-hmm. I got to imagine at least half of them also watched ADCC.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
You don't think?
No.
So what percentage of the CJI audience do you think actually watches jiu-jitsu?
Like regularly?
Yeah.
I bet it's way lower than any other jiu-jitsu event of all time.
Percentage of people, and I'm just asking you, if there was 100,000 people watching CJI, mm-hmm. how many of them watch another jiu-jitsu tournament throughout the year?
That's hard because I don't even know how to classify myself because I don't watch.
Well, you watch jiu-jitsu on one.
Right. And I'll watch the occasional full match like on YouTube.
I would say that you don't watch other jiu-jitsu.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. Is like I don't watch them live pretty much ever. And this I made a point to watch. I was really excited.
Okay.
Yeah. I think there's
so
a
you
lot.
think that there's more of you than there are of me?
I do.
Okay. That'd be interesting. I strongly disagree.
So again,
I think that's wildly incorrect.
One of the articles I saw said, so basically it said that they had 10,000 as opposed to like the 100,000 plus. And they said also that there was something about the numbers on Flow and their subscriber levels being like, I forget what it was, something like 1 million or something like that. So even if everybody who had a Flow account watched ADCCs, it's still less than CJI.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right.
Has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Yeah,
I
know. I'm just
about how many
numbers.
People you think. Do you literally think that 100,000 people were watching CJI, mm-hmm. and out of the 100,000 people, 80,000 of them never watched jiu-jitsu, other than watch CJI?
Again, what are we saying is never watch jiu-jitsu? They don't watch highlights. They don't watch the occasional match, or
they don't watch. They don't watch like they
like
don't.
An
event. They've never seen an ADCC match before. They wouldn't have watched ADCC if CJI didn't exist. They didn't watch ADCC in the past. They don't know They don't know the competitors.
That's okay. That's a really good question.
How many of the competitors did you know?
In ADCC?
No, in CJI.
Oh,
before CJI.
Probably 50-ish%.
50-ish%.
Yeah, like that I'd heard their name or like seen a highlight from them or something along those lines. Like that level of familiarity.
Man, I don't know. I don't believe that.
You think that's high or low?
I think that's crazy high. I think you knew who the Rotolos were. I think you knew, like, for example, did you know who Levi Jones-Leary was?
Yeah, I'd seen his highlights before.
Why? Where?
On Instagram.
Why?
Because, I was scrolling, I saw a jiu-jitsu account pop up, and they're like, hey, check out this dude doing leg locks. No, I meant before that.
Before that, okay.
Yeah.
What tournament was he in?
I couldn't tell you.
You know why?
Why?
Because he's only done one no-gi tournament before, so I don't know how you've seen his highlights.
Maybe I'm thinking someone else then, but didn't he do some crazy leg lock stuff?
Yeah, at the ADCC Asian trials.
I don't think that's where the highlight I saw was from. I might be mixing him up. But I'd heard his name.
He's done some other, but like it's like he's a gi guy.
Which is crazy that his leg lock game is that nuts.
Well, he spent the last 2 years focused on it for ADCC with Lachlan, who's like one of the best instructors.
And maybe that's the only reason I'd heard his name is because he's one of Lachlan's guys, and like I know who he is.
Yeah, well, there's a finalist who, like, I mean, like, I just feel like anybody in your shoes wouldn't know him. What about Tommy Lankiker?
Only heard his name because of you.
Yeah, because of me.
Yeah.
But he actually did a jiu-jitsu match in one against Ty Rotolo.
Yeah, didn't.
So, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh wait, was that the one where I was like, "Yo, who's this bum that Rotolo's going against?" And you're like, "No, he's really good."
no, that's a whole different one.
Different one, gotcha.
Yeah, that's a whole different one. You know what I mean?
But okay, I think this is a good gauge of your initial point here. Is that like I am way closer to jiu-jitsu than the average person, and I have done currently not a whole lot, but like I have done jiu-jitsu, like I've done tournaments.
How many people do you think were watching CJI who don't do jiu-jitsu?
That's a great question. I don't know.
You think more than half of the people watching CJI don't do jiu-jitsu?
No.
Okay.
And again, like what it depends what we were going to say as like do jiu-jitsu, like go to a school regularly or like have at one point in their life.
Well, my thing is like for there to be if you're telling me that ADCC day one was free on YouTube, it was free to watch ADCC day one on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Okay. And CJI was free, and CJI had over 100,000 viewers, but ADCC only had 10,000. Mm-hmm. Yet it's free on YouTube, right? My thing is those 100,000 people, right? There's no way that 90,000 of them don't partake in jiu-jitsu, but stayed on the CJI through all those matches, not knowing what's going on.
Yeah, no, that definitely. Yeah, no way.
So I don't think it's a 10% thing. So you're telling me that 90% of people watching CJI only watched because it was CJI. They don't care about jiu-jitsu outside of CJI. Because if they did, then they would watch ADCC if it was free, and you're telling me it was free.
See, that, well, again, I don't want to stand
by
that.
The other thing I'm saying is, like, literally everybody who I know who, like, I do jiu-jitsu with watched both.
Count me as someone who doesn't watch do jiu-jitsu.
I would count you as someone who doesn't watch jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, or someone who doesn't do jiu-jitsu.
So I don't believe that, like, it was that. That's why I think the ADCC YouTube thing, and I don't know, like, I didn't hear about this until right now on this podcast, but I think that was like the bracket reveals. People watching the bracket
Very
reveals.
well could have been. We'll look that up later. I don't want to spend a ton of time on something that we're just speculating on, but I think at the very least it shows, one, how popular CJI was, how their marketing did so well, and like the whole thing with ADCC is they're like, oh, our money's going towards production. The fact that their production was like just as good, if not better, and their reach
CJI's production was very
significantly larger. Like I think that was phenomenal. I think that shows a lot of things, which is cool because that's my next.
But what you got to ask is, like, how much money did CJI make?
I mean, at like total profit, probably very, very little, because aren't they registered as a nonprofit?
Yeah, but so here goes the thing, like, did they lose money?
That's a great question. I don't know.
Because that's the whole point. It's like, is it sustainable?
Yeah.
Beyond being a charity.
Right.
And like, so here's the thing, like, there was a large emphasis on all the profits are going to charity. Mm-hmm. All the profits are going to charity. Were there profits?
Well,
if there weren't none.
It wasn't profits. It was all of the revenue from live sales and from, I think, merch or something like that. I think advertising money and other things probably went towards them recouping the, what was it, like $3 million or something? Yeah. So I think it gets slightly more complicated business-wise than that. And
well, here goes the thing. So if it didn't make a profit, like if it didn't make a profit,
right,
then CJI itself is a charity.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's relying on donors.
Somebody is like, okay, well, for you to raise, just to have a number, for you to raise $500,000 for charity, I have to give you $3 million.
Right.
And it's like, well, why didn't I just give my $3 million?
Right, exactly.
Or why don't I just give you the $500,000 for charity and then I keep my 2.5?
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think these are things that are going to come out soon, knowing about those numbers.
I hope they made a profit. I loved it.
Oh yeah, me too.
But like that's like for sustainability.
Yeah, if I had to guess, I would say I think they probably did all right. I mean, just think about the amount of people watching it, like and how many ads.
Well, I guess they don't need to make a profit on this one though, because like if you're like, yo, we can get 100,000 people to watch it for 10 hours,
advertising becomes much easier.
Yeah, that now you can get bigger sponsors because you could be like, hey, look at this, and then down the road you can put it behind a paywall.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Which is a big business model.
I guess it's not about making money right now. It's about
Right.
showing that you have the potential to make money.
It's about growing an audience. Like dude, this is a very common business model. If you think about like, do you remember Uber when Uber first came out and like first like started to be something that like regular people use, not just like tech people? Dude, you could go like a lot of places for like $7.50. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like it's just oh yeah, there's Uber there. Like it's so easy. Why, and it's so cheap. Why wouldn't I? And then like over the years, all of a sudden, boom, they'd spike up, and something that was $7.50 is now like $15, and you're like, oh man, it's a good bit more. And it was just because my understanding, I could be very off on this, but it was that they just like tried to get as much market share as they possibly could, and then they could crank up prices.
I'm still stuck on this. Like, so you're telling me that only 10% of people watch ADCC if it's free too? Like, the whole thing is like it's behind a paywall.
We are speculating. This is something that I
like
glanced
if
at.
it's free, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? You're telling me that only 1 out of 10 people who, so that means that 90% of CJI's viewers were just CJI people. Like, they didn't know, they don't do jiu-jitsu.
If that thing that I read was accurate and or I interpreted it properly, that is what I'm saying.
That's crazy.
I'm not standing by that. I don't know if I read that
couldn't
properly.
imagine that.
This is my understanding. But anyways, let's dive into the production value, because again, I thought that was phenomenal, and I think especially given that like that was ADC's argument. They were like, oh, we put our money into production. I think the CJI was far better on a number of levels. One, I think the announcers were great. I thought they were knowledgeable. I thought they were professional. I think they maintained that.
I gotta stop you.
Okay,
I
go
gotta
ahead.
stop you. You mean the commentators?
Commentators, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought they were pretty good.
Yeah. I thought the fact
Certainly
that they...
didn't think they were better than ADCC's commentators.
Fair enough. But like the fact that they maintained that the whole time, and like that's what they were doing for their first event. I thought, boom, excellent.
Yeah, they were phenomenal for sure.
I thought that the stream itself looked professional level.
Sure
you know what
did.
I mean? Like,
sure did. I didn't have any glitches. No like lagging, like nothing. No, I mean, like if there were glitches, it it could likely be your internet type deal.
Right.
But like on their end, dude.
and also just like
Smooth.
like how it looked. You know how when you watch a UFC event, and like the things that are put on the screen, it doesn't look like 90s word art. It doesn't look like our thumbnails.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Like it looks
Yes.
good. That's what I was really impressed with. And again, didn't watch it, don't know, but I'd read that some ADCC competitors had like the wrong names written or something like that.
Oh, there was that happened in the absolute.
And-
Davi Ramos was in under Damon Ramos
Oh wow.
on the score sheet, not in the bracket.
Got you. But like I didn't notice anything like that in CJI, so I thought that was fantastic. Dude, the alley I thought it was
sick.
phenomenal on so many levels.
I really like it.
I thought that I mean I just think that's so far the best like container for grappling that we've ever seen. Right?
Yeah, I agree that we've seen, and like I just like it's gonna be, other than like angled corners, it's hard to get better than that. Like realistically,
Yeah.
Like what would be better than it? Like a football field.
I disagree.
Why?
I think that I would rather see someone get smushed into an angled wall than to get called for stalling.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fine.
And also something else you'd mentioned that I thought was interesting. We talked about this on Saturday. Is you were talking about how in the corner, if they had like another piece like this, so instead of being a 90-degree angle here, it'd be two 45s. I thought that was interesting.
What do you think the benefit to going backwards is?
What do you mean?
Well, like the angled wall is there to dissuade people from moving backwards.
Oh yeah, what's the benefit? The benefit is that you can rest. You know what I mean? Like if someone just pushed the pace on you and they're trying to continue attacking and you back
So
up.
that's why you're saying it could still happen in an open football field, like a huge match.
Right, yeah, I could. So let's say you and I are wrestling, right? And you chain together three, leg attacks, and what I'm saying, leg attacks like wrestling style, like you're shooting on me, and I'm somehow able to just like high step out of it and run away, right? And then like we reset, and I'm completely exhausted, and you're about to shoot again, and I just like take a couple steps out of the way. Whereas if there was a wall there, you would finish that takedown. You know what I'm saying? And even if I got called for stalling.
See, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I don't like that the environment plays a factor into it. I would like the environment to have as little a factor into it. And I think that's also like the spirit of ADCC not having out of bounds.
Right.
So that the environment ideally doesn't play a factor into it. So the problem with boundaries is you don't want them to be like, in my opinion, the issue with boundaries that the main issue with boundaries is they're being used to somebody's advantage.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Craig didn't want a vertical wall, because
Right.
it can be used to somebody's advantage,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's why you don't just actually call out of bounds, unlike ADCC,
Mm-hmm.
because it can be used to somebody's advantage. The way it can be used to advantage is like the way that like we see it done in like folk style wrestling is like we'll wrestle on the edge. So if things aren't going
Yeah,
super
you
great,
can
we
slide out.
slide out of bounds, right? And that's what the angle wall like it's like, oh, out of bounds is bad,
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? But I think what you would actually want, like for like the trueness, is for there to be no out of bounds, like ADCC, but maintain a safe environment
Yeah.
for people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's where you and I probably differ the most in these sorts of
Yeah.
things. Is I lean much more, and I don't think we're that far apart on the spectrum of this, but like I lean more towards the entertainment value, and I think you lean a little bit more towards like true competition.
Yeah, I do.
And yeah, I don't know. I haven't spent enough time thinking about it to like be sure about it, but I really loved it, and I think I would prefer the angled walls over just a giant mat. And I think if for no other reason, I do think I like the sport aspect of it and like how it makes it more exciting. But I think if for no other reason, I think that on TV it looks great, and I think that reaching a big audience is at least for a while.
I think it looked good too.
Yeah.
What do you think about angled corners? So we spoke about how they're
Yeah.
90-degree corners, and that kind of makes that part of it a little bit more worse than like the flat wall part.
Yeah, I did spend a little time thinking about that, and you made a really good point. How like that is now like an exceptionally detrimental area to be on.
Yeah.
Like, getting stuck on the flat part is not good. Getting stuck in the corners really, really bad. And I thought about that for a little bit. I think I like it still. I think that it's
You like that there's parts that are extra worse than the other parts.
And maybe that's like my inner boxer coming out. Where like, oh, that corner, you got to stay out of that corner. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Would you like it if the people in the corner, if you got pushed, could hold you and stop you from could jab you with keys and stuff? Like could hold you there so you can't get out? Like just one of the corners.
What do you mean?
Like let's say like on the top left corner there was like a group of
different
like
rule
three dudes
set.
there.
Yeah.
And like if you got pushed there, they could reach out and like grab you while the other dude like puts a leg lock on you.
Yeah, I don't know if that'd be a great idea.
Yeah, dude, it's stupid. Just have an angled wall so that way everywhere is like just about the same amount of detrimental.
I think if you and I were like given the power to like make like a number of changes to CJI, and that was when you felt strongly about, I wouldn't fight against it. But I think just like, again, off the top of my head, I like the fact
It
that
doesn't
it's a
bother me that
detrimental
bad. The
area.
corner doesn't bother me.
Yeah,
that
I don't feel
bad.
super
I was
strongly
just
about
looking
it,
for
but-
things that could be improvement.
Yeah.
Like don't like so. I like for example, like if you could make it round instead of square.
I thought about that too. I think that and initially I didn't like it, the fact that it was rectangular. It came around on me. I think that on TV it looks really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Another thing you just reminded me of, and I've gone back and forth on this. What did you think about the height of the walls?
I thought it was sufficient.
Yeah, initially I was like, no, that sucks, because like, didn't maybe it was Rockhold. Someone put like two hands on
Yeah,
and they
Rockhold.
reset them. Yeah, and I was like, oh, it's ridiculous. This is gonna happen the whole time, and someone's gonna get like thrown out and whatever. And even though someone tried to
Yeah.
throw someone else out, it didn't happen, and you didn't see a ton of resets. So I thought it like you said, was sufficient. But I did go back and forth on that in my head. But yeah, overall, I thought that was phenomenal. I think that's the best thing we've seen so far. Something that wasn't good in production-wise was the pacing.
Yeah, so the pacing, I got an opinion on that. So I think I have an opinion and I have a solution and I have a question. So my opinion on the pace. Oh, do you want to go?
No, why don't you start? Because you'll probably touch on
My
most of this.
opinion on the pacing is Friday night was too long.
Yes.
Right? Especially for an East Coast audience. Right? So it started at 6 p.m., which is a good start time for a Friday night because, you know, it is a weekend.
Right.
Or, I mean, it's a weekday
Yeah.
that leads into the weekend. So, you know, people, you don't want to start at like 10 a.m. And
Right,
Like,
yeah,
people are
no
like,
one
oh,
can-
well, I'm at work.
Yeah.
So there's that. But then it went to 4 a.m.,
Yeah, that's a problem.
right? Because they had to do 24 matches in that time frame. So that's the issue I had is like
Yeah.
I wasn't able to. I'm not going to stay. I can't
fell
stay up.
asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wonder what their viewership was in those hours.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. I bet we probably saw a pretty steady decline around
Right.
like the
Which,
times when.
and now here goes the most unfortunate part. Those were some of the best matches.
Yeah.
Because what they did was they left minus 80 for like main event type deal,
Right.
which it was. It was
Yes.
definitely the best bracket we've seen. So they started with plus 80. So with plus 80, they ran the first 8 matches, and then they ran the quarterfinals right after. Right? I thought they would have ran the first 8 matches, and then the first 8 matches of minus 80, then the quarters of plus 80, then the quarters of minus 80. What that does too is that gives the competitors more rest between matches.
Yep.
Which means that they can put on more action.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I thought that was one of the things I had written down. I thought that's how they should have run it.
So my solution to it would be, maybe the best solution I could think of to like still maintain the 6 p.m. Friday night thing and have it be a 2-day tournament and not eliminate like a division. Like you could do one division and then it's only 12 matches. Would be to do, instead of 3 5-minute, and if you're going to stay with this rule set, to go 2 5-minute rounds and only go to a third if needed.
Yeah.
Right? The Ultimate Fighter used to do that. You would fight 2 5-minute rounds, and if it was a draw at the end, since there was even rounds, you would then do the third.
I think that's one of the things I had written down because you'd mentioned that.
So you could do that for like the first 2 rounds.
Right.
And then once you hit the semis, now it's a 3-round. It's a full 3-round match in the semis, and then the finals was 5-5s.
Exactly, and I think that's a really good idea for a number of reasons. One, like you said, pacing. 2, it eliminates some of the boring matches, right? Like there were some, I don't want to name names, but there were some heavyweight matches that perhaps you and I had known ahead of time were just going to be a lot of shoving and whatever. And instead of watching 15 minutes of it, then you only have to watch 10. You know what I mean? And just boom, done with it. So I think that's a great idea. I think also in terms of pacing, I mean, the big thing is just like, and again, they had like, 3 months from inception until the date that it happened.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm just trying to give you my opinions.
Right.
I thought it was phenomenal. And I'm super pumped about it.
With that said, I think that is a pretty easy place to improve, is just put less time between matches. You know what I mean? Like one guy's done, the other guy's walking out. You know how the UFC will do it where like they have the announcer and she's talking like in the middle and then you see the guy walk past her?
Yeah.
Like do something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like get the information out as fast as possible, get them in there and get it going, you know?
Right.
I think that there were a few times where they either spent too much time on the post-fight interviews or just too much time in between. Right. You can cut down on that easily.
So I gave you my problem, I gave you my solution, but I didn't give you my question.
We'll get to questions. Let me hit you with one or two other things. So I think you cut down between that. And this is all questions. Hit me with your question.
Did they do that on purpose?
To go extra long?
To keep everybody up late so they wouldn't wake up early for ADCC?
Because
Because the next morning, the in-crowd ADCC was small.
Dude, the
people in the arena, the in-crowd ADCC was small. Kept them there till, now this is Vegas time.
Right.
You know? So 3 p.m. to 1 a.m. They had them in the arena, the Thomas and Mack arena. All right. 1 a.m. Boom. Even if you go like, I'm gonna get some sleep, whatever, right? Like you're not getting much sleep to be at the T-Mobile at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Right. Whether you went and got food, but people went out and partied and stuff, and therefore, dude, the 10 a.m. next morning was thin in the crowd.
I did not think about that at all, and honestly, I don't think that was done intentionally. But
Sabotage.
I would like to believe.
Dude, you don't think if there was anybody in the world that I could think of who would think to do that, it's Craig Jones.
100%, and I would like to believe that he did. I don't really think he did, but I would like to.
If you were like, who came up with that idea, I'd say Craig Jones.
Yes. If there was anyone who runs an event that like would do something like that, it 100% would be Craig. That's a great question. So the 2 rounds of the bomb. Here's something else. Do you think? Oh no, we already went over that. I think they should do all of the first round in both divisions, and then here's my question: do you think that they should, as they grow, and especially if they add more divisions, whether that's women's divisions, more weight classes, whatever, do you think they should run multiple mats at once?
Oh, so CJI can't because the alley.
Right, but they could build 2.
It was quite big. It's like, would it fit in an arena?
I think it would, and also I think that eliminates. So they had to. so like if here's the alley, they had to build up the floor seats to here so that people could see in, right? If you have two alleys, that might bring it out to the edge to where like the seats are already naturally going
No, or
up.
like so if it's like in a hockey arena,
Right.
you're already in like the
Exactly. So then they may not have to build those up. So like it might be about the same. I don't know. I don't know. But do you think that that would be a good
you know
strategy?
yeah, I think that would be so. I mean, that's taken away from one of the pros of CJI. One of the pros of CJI is you didn't miss matches.
Mm-hmm.
I, as someone who actually does jujitsu and watches jujitsu, watched ADCC also,
Right.
right? And there were like there were times where we were missing matches, because it was
Yeah.
like, all right, maybe there's a match on mat 2, but like the match on mat 1 we really really wanted to see,
Right.
so we took it off we wanted to see it good,
Right.
right? Because it's somebody who we like their technique, so we
Yeah.
just watched that and then we like caught the results.
So I don't think they should go multiple alleys, but that may just be necessary long term.
Well, here goes the thing: they only ran 2 divisions,
Right.
whereas ADCC ran 10 divisions.
Yeah.
They
And
ran 6 men, 4 women, and that includes the open weight.
yeah, and I would like to see more divisions in CJI. So like, unless they make it like a 4-day event, like they'll probably have to go multiple alleys. But I really do like it as just one. Do you remember when we were watching NCAA finals, or the tournament,
Yeah.
when we were out at Brittany's fight, and they have what, 8 at one time on the
Yeah,
screen?
the first couple rounds there's
Right.
8 mats.
So that was really fun for me because I was with you and Ryan, and you guys are just spitting out, watch this, watch this. Oh, did you see that? Boom, boom, boom. Oh, check out this guy. He did the X, Y, and Z. And so for me, like, I don't know everyone on the screen. I don't
Right.
really, I don't say I don't care. Like, it was really fun. I enjoyed it. But like, that was okay for me. Whereas on this, I was at least aware of, if for no other reason, because we made a podcast about it, like every match, and I wanted to watch it.
Right, yeah.
So I really enjoyed the fact that it was just one at a time, but we'll see what happens in the future. I don't know.
Yeah.
But overall, I think given their first one, production value is phenomenal. The environment just like seemed fun. Like it was awesome. Like, and some of these things were stupid. Like Luke Rockhold high-fiving Mighty Mouse mid-match.
Yeah.
That's like kind of stupid, but also like it made it fun. And like I think that's important here. We'll talk about that later though. Anyways, anything else to add on production?
No.
Let's talk scoring real quick. This was something I saw some people had some complaints about. I thought it was generally good, and I think we talked about that on Saturday. It was generally good. What did you think about the Pat Downey match? That's what a lot of people complained about scoring.
So here goes the thing. If I were to complain about the scoring of any match, it would be the Pat Downey match. It would be the Pat Downey match would be number 2, right? I have a match that I more disagree with the scoring on. But I do disagree with the scoring on the Pat Downey match. Now, with that being said, I can only disagree with it so much.
Right.
Right? Like, it was close enough that your opinion can be different than mine, and it's not like, it's just like, like your point of view, my point of view. The other thing is like, so it comes down to the third round, the third period, or whatever you want to call it, for the Pat Downey Adam Bradley match. Pat Downey won the first round, threw on a nice Schultz choke, which definitely solidified the round. Adam Bradley caused the turtle up. Schultz choke was defended, but definitely won the round. So Pat's up 1-0. Second round, Adam Bradley wins, right? In large part due to Pat's inactivity on the top, right? And what caused the inactivity was Adam Bradley was opening the close guard and creating an angle,
Right.
which is a line of attack. And Pat Downey's going like head and arm position from the close guard, which makes it's like kind of like definitely a stalling position.
Yeah.
It's a position that eliminates motion, but it's something that he needed to do to defend
Right.
in that portion. So they went Bradley. Now, with that being the case, in the third round, Pat Downey tried to stand up in the guard over and over and over and got to his feet over and over and over. That's offensive attempts, and I felt like he made more offensive attempts than Adam Bradley. Therefore, I would have scored the third round for Pat Downey. Now, what the judges might have saw, which I also saw, but like I would have scored it for Pat Downey, is I feel like those attempts were not honest attempts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he stood up to be like it's like, oh, okay, so it's like, staying busy so you don't get called for stalling, right? It's like I'm not really trying to do anything. I'm just looking busy,
Playing the game.
like looking busy on top so you don't get a stand up in MMA.
Exactly.
Right? It's like, oh, I'm busy,
Yeah.
I'm busy, but you're not really like
Right.
trying to. That's how I felt about that, and maybe so the judges, in my opinion, probably saw through that, and that's what gave Adam Bradley the win. Which in those cases, like I don't think it's like incredibly egregious.
Yeah.
You know.
I kind of agree with you on all
But
of
I would have
that.
scored it for Downey.
Yeah.
Because I think, although they might not have been true honest attempts,
Right. He still did them.
he still did them. And what did Bradley do?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bring him back down. So I would have scored that one for Downey. But
Yeah. I
that's
agree.
not my-
I would have given it to Downey, but also like I'm not like super bummed that
Yeah.
it didn't go his way. So I saw an Instagram post this morning talking about exactly this, and it was like, we need to figure out in jiu-jitsu, is guard a neutral or defensive position? And
What guard?
so I immediately had some very strong opinions on this post that I saw, and I was like, it's both. You know what I mean? Well, it's not even that. It's offense, defense, or neutral. You know what I mean? Like you said, what type of guard? What are you doing from that guard? Are you just closing it and hanging on? Well, then it's defense. You know what I mean?
Because, dude, I'm telling you right now, if there's no strikes involved, bottom closed guard is offense.
Yeah.
I think the guy with a bottom closed guard over the guy with a top closed guard. If you are on bottom in a closed guard and there are not strikes allowed, you have a better position than the person on top.
Yes.
Right? Because you have submissions available. You have more offense available to you. The only offense the person on top has is to try to open your guard. Right?
Yeah.
Whereas you can finish the match, you can reverse the position, like all types of stuff. Yeah.
I agree. I think it's a little more nuanced than this post was trying to make it seem. And they were trying to compare it to wrestling, how in wrestling, top and bottom is offense versus defense. You know what I mean? And I was like, it's not wrestling though. You know, it's more nuanced.
So if that's the case, bottom would be offense and top would be defense if you want to compare it to wrestling in this instance.
Yeah.
Because the reason top is offense is because you are closer to the pin. Right? Bottom would be offense in a guard because you are closer to the submission. Jiu-jitsu's pin.
Much more nuanced. Open scoring. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, open scoring's great.
Yeah, I think that's the way
if
to
you're
go.
going to do like judging.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all I got for scoring. Do you have anything to add to that?
Who's number one does open scoring for their matches?
And they do like a IBJJF style, like points, right?
No, they do no points. It's sub only. To a ref's decision if there's no sub. It's a 15-minute round.
So then how
every 5 minutes
do they
announce the
Oh,
judges.
the ref gives you. Got you.
The announcer goes, judges favor blue.
Got you. Okay.
Now here goes the thing. It's not round by round though.
Right.
It's fight. So like for example, judges could fit at 5 minutes, which would feel like the first round. Judges favor Will. At 10 minutes, judges favor Will. But I can do enough in the last 5 minutes to win the match. It's not like now you're up.
It's not this.
Now you're up 2-0. Now you're up
Gotcha.
2-0, right? Like
Gotcha.
no, those
Okay, so it's just like who they're leaning towards at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that CJI's was even better than that. Like, it's just you know where you are. You know if you need to finish. You know what I mean? And like, I just think open scoring is the way to go.
I like open scoring, but I like who's number one scoring way better.
Really?
I think I am absolutely shocked that you took the other side on that.
No. I think in terms of just the open scoring, saying like this guy's winning, is worse than this, which is worse than if they did that, but it was with regular like IBJJF style points.
Okay.
So like if they were doing like 5 minutes in, they're like Mike's winning 6-3. I think that's important because then like
Yes.
how
rather
much
than
of a
hidden
deficit.
scoring. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But do you like the round by round scoring?
Initially, I didn't love it, and then I kind of understood why they were doing it, and then after watching it, I don't think it really resulted in any decisions that would have been different with another scoring system.
Yeah.
And I think it made it just digestible for MMA fans. So like I'm leaning towards liking it right now, but I could very easily be swayed out of it.
I'm leaning towards liking it too, but the reason I like the who's number one scoring more than I like the 10-9 must system here is the same reason like why you like pride rolls pride scoring over the 10-9 must system.
Yeah.
It's based on the entire thing, not just round by round.
Right.
You know, because for example, I could squeak by, you know, like round 1 and round 2 by the narrowest of margins that
Right.
give me the 10-9, and you could whoop me up in the third, but not enough for a 10-8.
Right.
But you're like, oh, overall, like, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think there's things to be worked out there, but overall, I thought it was good. Open scoring. Anything else on scoring?
I like points.
Yeah. I don't know.
I have an argument for points. I think people generally do actually like points. You know what I mean? I like the fact that makes, like, you know, the guard pat, like it brings excitement to all aspects of the sport instead of just the submission.
Right.
Right? Like if in wrestling the only thing that mattered was the pin, right? You're only getting excited in these tiny moments that when it's really good people versus really good people happen a little less. You know,
Yeah.
Whereas you could be getting excited over a takedown.
Right.
You could be getting excited over like you see all these passing versus guard battles. Like how much more exciting would that be?
Right.
Like, you know, if like there was a substantial like reward for it.
Yeah, I could definitely get on board with that. I don't know. I wonder for like the average fan who's like, oh, I kind of like MMA. And Luke Rockhold's in this, and Mackenzie Dern's there. Let me see what it's about. And they don't really understand jiu-jitsu very well. Like, I could see how having points, like you're talking about, like forces them to understand it better. They're like, oh, well, what does it mean to pass? And like, oh, it means this, and it's this much points. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus this, where they watch around and they're like, oh yeah, that was cool.
I gotta think that if you're trying to pull the casual MMA fan over, I gotta think they understand what a guard pass is.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, if you're pulling over an MMA, so I would say if you're a jiu-jitsu event like the CJI and you're pulling over an MMA fan, I don't think it's the casual MMA fan.
Right.
Right? Like, what is the casual MMA fan?
Yeah, they tune in for a McGregor fight. They know who Izzy is. Yeah.
Right. So I don't think you're pulling them over because other MMA cards can't pull them over.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They're watching 3 pay-per-views a year at their friend's house.
Right.
Or at a Buffalo Wild Wings, and they still think Conor McGregor's the champ.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Right? So I don't think you're pulling them over because MMA can't even pull them over.
Right.
So I think what you're getting is the people who we might classify above casual MMA fans.
Yeah.
And there's no way they don't know what a guard pass is.
Yeah, that's fair. Oh, well, yes and no, actually, because
you think they don't know what side control is.
No, I think they do, but I think that things can get confusing where like someone works to like an almost north-south position, but then the guy like really inverts and keeps his feet in between, and like a casual might think it looks like a guard pass, but it wasn't really. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I'm getting real niche here, but I don't know. I could go either way on the scoring and seeing like what draws more people, what's easier to digest for people who don't understand jiu-jitsu. I don't really know, to be honest, but I think the big thing for me, what would have made me say that this scoring was not good, is if I would have given someone a decision under another rule set who then didn't get that decision under this rule set, and I didn't really see anything like that.
Yeah,
so,
me
I don't
either.
know.
Nothing like outrageous. Yeah, I agree.
Let's move into best matches and performances. So the first thing I've got written down here, I mean, do I even need to say it without you knowing? Dude, Rotolo and Tackett.
Rotolo Tackett, best jiu-jitsu match of all time.
Yeah, and like I don't
best
think
grappling match of all time.
Yeah, I don't think it's being disputed. I think it.
I don't see it. I don't think it's being disputed.
I think it showed off how great
amazing.
the pit or the alley was. I think it like showed off how fun the rounds can be and how that keeps the action alive. I mean, I just don't have much else to say about it. Like, it was just incredible all around.
Yeah. Why was it incredible? What made it incredible in your opinion?
I think it was all of the, like you would say, scoring techniques. You know what I mean?
Because there was no submission.
Right, yeah. It was all
But everybody knows it was the bet. Like, there's not a lot of argument against it.
Right.
And if
Isn't that interesting? No submission, still the best.
Yeah. I mean, that's likely going to be the case.
Yeah.
That is most... Do you know the best wrestling matches? There's no pin. It's the most competitive, highest scoring... what it is, it's just what match kind of like gives you like the most like scoring exchanges.
Right.
The most drama.
Right.
back and forth. You need it to be competitive.
See, that's interesting because I think that the best fights are oftentimes where there's like a late finish, like it went back and forth, and there's, you know what I mean, or like someone, like I think Anderson Chael won,
Yeah.
like something like that. You know
I
what I
wouldn't
mean?
consider that one of the best fights, though. That was
I
I
100%
don't
agree.
think like, yeah, okay, never
Yeah,
mind.
yeah. Entertainment wise, no, it was not. But I'm just saying, like the finish at the end
The
almost makes
finish
it more
is what
dramatic.
makes it.
Right.
That's what bumps it up, or else it would have been lower.
Let's put it this way: if you and I made a list of like top 10 best fights, like I bet a larger percentage of those would be finished rather than grappling or wrestling matches, right?
I don't know. That maybe that's something we should do, because right off the top of my head, Frankie Edgar, Gray Maynard tops my list, and neither of those were a finish. You know what I mean?
It's a good point. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's something we gotta look into more.
One that is a finish would be Lawler McDonald 2.
That's a great example.
That would be one with a finish.
Interesting.
But so right now I'm running 66% not finished.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't know.
And that's just me like not even thinking
Right,
about
yeah,
it.
just spitting stuff out.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's something we should maybe look into. So yeah, Bertolo Tackett, phenomenal. Anyone who's not a jiu-jitsu fan, go watch that. You'll be one. And also, like, I'd seen full matches of, Bertolo many times, obviously watching one and everything. I'd only seen highlights of Tackett before. And so for me to see full matches with Tackett, I was blown away. I really like these
He's
guys.
amazing. His brother is as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. Well, we're going to get to him.
But hold on, we're not done.
Oh,
so
no,
that
we're
match,
not done. I got
that
more
match
things to
was
talk about.
exciting because of the styles of the competitor.
Yes.
Right? And like at this point, like if you can't understand that style matchups make things more exciting, less exciting type things, right? Like, you know what I mean? Then you're just too new for me to care about your opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, if you're like, oh, if you don't understand, like so, then the argument becomes, should everybody just have that style?
Right. And I mean, no, but
Yeah.
I mean, they can't.
Right. And just some things match up well together.
Right. Yeah. And Rotolo and Tackett. I could watch any, if you take all four of them, I could watch any of those matchups all day, every day.
Yeah.
It's just phenomenal. Quick question about Cade specifically. Do you think that he is currently the best there is at jiu-jitsu, pound for pound, like the current version of him?
No, I thought he was not the best in that tournament. I thought he lost in the finals.
Oh.
I thought Levi Jones-Leary was better than him and beat him in the finals.
Wow.
Rounds 1, 2, and 4.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I also think that he can lose to Ty. I think who Levi beat. I think he can lose to Tackett. I think he can lose to some of the guys in the ADCC. I think he can lose to Dante. I think he can lose to Mika. You know what I mean? And those are all just in his weight class.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? I think he can beat them all as well.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's a separation.
See, and I think that's a really I don't want to say measured, wise take on your part, because how often do we see in fights someone has one great fight and they're like, oh, he's the best, flyweight champ of all time, and you're like, oh, calm down, he just got it.
His finals is highly controversial.
Yeah.
It's like there's a lot of people. It's not a small minority. There's a lot of people who are like, yeah, he didn't win that match.
There you go.
And I'm one of them.
There you go. All right. Well, that very definitively answers that question. You have anything else to talk about with Cade specifically?
No. I wonder how much time. So here goes the thing. So actually, this is about Cade.
Okay.
But it's about more than just Cade. It's about everybody who's doing MMA and also competing in jiu-jitsu. And how this is a much deeper topic, but to just touch on surface level, it is harder now to do that than ever.
Yes.
Okay? We saw MMA fighters have better success in grappling tournaments 10, 15 years ago because grappling, the style of grappling utilized in each did not
differ that much.
So I want you to think of 3 types of grappling. Gi jiu-jitsu, no gi jiu-jitsu, and MMA, right? At the trunk of the tree, they're the same.
Right.
All right? They're the same, right? The fundamentals are fairly much the same. And then as that tree grows, as your skill level grows, right? Your white belt, blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, black belt. Each of those branches off further and further away from each other.
So much more specialized.
And the MMA fighters we are seeing jump over to grappling are certainly black belt level MMA fighters, right? Like that's like, I mean, the only ones we're hearing about are UFC, like high level
exactly.
people. And we are not seeing them do well. Even the ones who have in the past come from grappling historically have done well. Mackenzie Dern, Gary Tunnon, right? Because, and it makes sense, now all these sports are so much more professional.
Yeah.
Right? So you're having structured, planned training, and by that, I mean, like, your training is planned, like, through months.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just like, hey, this week we should focus on some this or whatever.
Yeah.
No, there's months of planning into this training to where you can probably say, hey, on Thursday, October 15th, at 2 p.m. I'll be boxing.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? I'll be in a boxing session, you know, right? And like stuff like that. So let's just say for an even number, and I'm sure they train more than this, but all the athletes train 10 sessions a week, right? Well, out of those 10 sessions, how many are jiu-jitsu?
For an MMA fighter.
Well, if you're a jiu-jitsu athlete, probably 8.
Right.
Probably 8 are jiu-jitsu, 2 are strength and conditioning, right? Or maybe 7 are jiu-jitsu, 1's wrestling, and 2 are strength and conditioning.
Yeah.
You know, something along those lines. You're getting my picture. Whereas if you're an MMA fighter, how many of those are jiu-jitsu?
Maybe 3.
Maybe, well, 2.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, right? Because you got 2 strength and conditioning. You got you're a jiu-jitsu athlete, so you got 4 striking.
Right. Yeah.
And then, you know what I mean? And then you have like your MMA too. So like you're not getting your jiu-jitsu in, and we've just now Cade is just fairly newer to MMA, but he's got to be trained. He's got to have a good. I mean, he just fought in June,
Right.
so I wonder, for someone who is now like, you could argue you could say as an MMA fighter, he's still world-class jiu-jitsu.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
I wonder how long if he desires to keep that, how long he can keep that as he continues, right? Because do you argue that Tackett's not on his level? Do you think Tackett's not on Cade's level?
Oh, no. They're definitely on the same level.
Okay. Do you think Levi Jones-Leary's on Cade's level? Okay. Do you think that potentially there could be 2 dudes in the ADCC who are on that level?
Absolutely. The margin at the top of
so
very
like
small.
you know, like if you say the top 5 guys top 5 guys in and around his weight class, and he's the only one now splitting time.
Yeah, that's not going to go well.
Right, yeah. And
Additionally,
if he had a crazy lead, maybe it would take him too long to catch up. But we know he doesn't have a crazy lead.
I think another important thing on top of that, which, I mean, that alone isn't a good enough reason, right? But on top of that, like, if you're a high-level MMA guy, are you training the same exact jiu-jitsu as a high-level jiu-jitsu guy? Like, how many of those guys are going out and they're working on guard pulls or Imanari rolls into leg locks and stuff like that? Versus how many jiu-jitsu guys, or like how many MMA fighters are doing jiu-jitsu in a way where it's like, hey, give up the back and stand.
Dude, even passing.
Yeah.
With all the jiu-jitsu you did, you can't pass in the manner that they're passing. You're going to get kicked in the head. You know what I mean? Like reaching down, like, you know, and stuff. So you got to make adjustments for that. And that's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
That's a large portion of it. A good like way to like think of that is like if you think of wrestling, like all the hand fight setups and stuff, they basically go away in MMA because now that's striking. I'm not in a collar tie passing an elbow, you know what I mean? Like moving you left and right and stuff like this, pushing and pulling. We're now striking. So, but that hand fight is where you spend those setups, those clearing ties, that's where you spend a lot of your time in wrestling is there, and then it goes away from MMA. Right,
exactly.
Same thing in jiu-jitsu. It's basically the same thing. Like guard passing, you're hand fighting like the legs and the arms on your way around. So it's all the same like types of thing. Now it's gone. It's largely gone in MMA.
Right. Yeah, it's like the tree analogy you made. It's like we're
that's
just
where
talking
we
about
see
different branches.
That's where we see those branches.
At those high levels, and we've seen it. Like, I mean, you saw it at CJI, Rockhold, who is widely regarded to be one of the better, MMA grapplers.
Yeah.
Not doing super well, which we'll talk about him in a minute, actually. And then we've also seen it the other way, Gary, right? Gary just leg locked everyone, and then as soon as he gets to someone who's at like, a higher level in MMA who can defend the leg locks a little bit, he got knocked out.
Well, also Gary has incredible submission defense, too.
Right?
Like that's actually Gary got jiu-jitsu famous. Primarily, he had an incredible match with Kron Gracie, which he was like moments away from winning before he got submitted.
Right.
Had he not got submitted, he would have won.
Yeah.
And it was very close and competitive. And then Crone went on to win the title that year. And then Gary did the absolute, in which he had a great match against Cyborg and a great match against Buchecha because someone got hurt, so they pulled him back in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and like he was giving up all this weight and stuff, but he was like just so hard to put away.
Right.
You know, and so John Danaher, his like instructional series, his like first set of instructionals was enter the system, and Gary's was exit the system.
Yeah, yeah.
About escapes, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
So where were we talking about arcade? Okay. Next thing I have on here. So Nicky Rod, I thought like we both expected him to win. I didn't expect him to get all submissions.
I didn't expect him to get all submissions. He looked better than he's ever looked before.
Yes.
I don't think there's an argument about that anybody's going to make.
Yeah. I was very impressed with him.
I mean, if you side by side looked at 2019 ADCC Nicky Rod versus this Nicky Rod, which I mean makes sense, it's 5 years ago,
right?
But it is so impressive.
Dude, it's beyond impressive because I was wrong about this, but I kind of thought that he was going to end up being one of those guys who's, physical specimen, good at wrestling, and just kind of stayed with that style, top pressure takedown for his whole career, and just until he wasn't a physically imposing monster. And that's just not what we saw. He was a complete grappler. I thought it was incredible.
Yeah.
Now, what did you think about his call out, dude?
Yeah, I think that's crazy, dude. To bet $1 million,
dude. And the other thing too is like that he's a successful jiu-jitsu athlete, but he's a jiu-jitsu athlete. This isn't like LeBron being like, "Oh, I'll bet you $1 million about that." Like this is significant for him.
Yeah.
And like that's what made it so cool. I thought that was cool. I thought that was big for the sport.
It was pretty crazy.
We'll come back to that though. Sticking with best matches and performances. Some people who lost, I thought Nolf looked really good.
I thought Nolf looked really good.
Yeah. I was very impressed with him. I mean, he, lost obviously, but like, dude, for someone who hasn't like done just grappling for that long, like he's coming from a very specialized sport in wrestling to go to do that well against that level of competition. Like,
yeah, dude, he looked great. He looked really good.
How old is Nolf?
28. I would guess 28.
Okay, so if he spends the next 4 years like really dialing in his
jiu-jitsu, he's probably like 28, 29. Yeah, him and AJ are about the same age.
Okay, so he could still be in his athletic prime and also be really good at jiu-jitsu in the next couple of years.
Yeah, and his style of wrestling was very creative, and like kind of looked like jiu-jitsu.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, dude, he just went toe to toe with one of the best in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could argue that that's led to so here goes one of the things that we experience in international wrestling as Americans. We are known for our gas tank, right? And we break a lot of people, and there's some arguments right now that the rest of the world's like kind of like taken note to that, and now they're coming in better shape. But like that's how we would beat a lot of people who quite frankly were better technicians than us,
right?
But breaking them. And where it did bite us throughout that era, which that era is now kind of like fading away. But where it would bite us is, so in international wrestling, if you lose, your only chance to come back for bronze is if the person who beat you makes the finals.
Okay.
If the person who beat you loses before the finals,
you're just done.
You're just out of the tournament.
Yeah.
The people who go for bronze are only the people who lost to the people in the finals.
Gotcha.
They do it's called a repechage system, like a tiered system. So like if you lost in the first round, you have the first match, right? And you have to go through everybody that person. So like if you lose to me in the first round and make the finals, you have to beat everybody I beat to take bronze.
So crazy.
But it's the same. It's the same as any wrestling tournament.
Right, yeah.
A full double elimination. It's just that everybody's in that bracket.
Yeah, yeah.
Instead of just the people
who.
So what we would do is we would gas these dudes out, just tear them apart. But if we lost, they would have nothing left for the next match, and then they would lose, and then
you're done.
Out. Yeah.
Interesting.
So what I'm saying is, did Nolf take a lot out of Ty, and he didn't have his full whop for Levi Jones Leary?
Interesting. That's real interesting.
I don't think so. I don't think that's like the reason for the loss, but it's just a point.
Yeah, it's something to think about. Also, I didn't have this written down, but dude, Ty, I was impressed with like him shooting on Nolf and stuff. Like,
yeah,
I didn't. I
So
shouldn't say I didn't expect it, but I was impressed.
I don't want to say I did expect it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And here goes why. Because like,
he's a dog like that.
well, I mean, what do you have to lose?
Yeah, that's a good point. What's he gonna slap on a guillotine? Like,
you know what I mean? Like, I don't think you're fearing his submissions.
Right.
So what do you afraid that he's gonna down block, go behind, and now you're playing guard?
Yeah.
Right. Like, no. Like if you think you're gonna win in all these jiu-jitsu exchanges, then you can.
Right.
Like,
get a little reckless in your shooting. Anything to just make a connection.
Right. Yeah.
Still impressed with it though.
Oh yeah. I mean, for sure.
All right, Nolf. So okay, how about this, dude? You and I did not see this happening. Maybe I should go back and re-edit the prediction episode to make it look like we did better than we did. But
we went 8-8 in the first round.
Oh, okay, that's better than I expected actually. Just like,
well, because I have so I was in pools with jiu-jitsu people, in which we did it like March Madness, like how you would do the basketball bracket. So like, for example, we had Victor Hugo in the finals.
Yeah.
So as soon as he lost in that first round match, right, you scratch him off all the way to the final. So it makes your so it's not like you knew, oh, now I know who's in the quarters and I'm going to pick who's going to win those. No,
you just know I'm not there.
Yeah, like all my guys are already out.
Exactly.
Right? So at plus 80, we only got 2 of the first round matches right.
Yeah.
Which means that 2 of our 8 we only had 2 out of 8 quarterfinalists. That means there were 2 quarterfinals where it didn't matter who won. Our guys already lost in the first round. You know?
But
we did get the champ in that one, though.
We did. I think a lot of people predicted that, though.
You do?
What?
I also found out that I was wrong about the seeds. Victor Hugo was the 1 seed, and so was Cade. They put the 1 seed in the top right on those brackets, which was like
not how it's normally done.
No, that would be the 3 seed,
right?
And in some instances, some people would put the 2 seed there, but like, you know, like if you, I mean, like, I think a lot of people know what the seeds look like because they filled out a March Madness poll, right? And if you think about it, where's the 1 seed? Oh, top left, and then the 2 seeds all the way at the bottom, like, you know,
But someone that we did not see doing what they did, Levi Jones-Leary. Wow,
no, I had him losing first round.
Yeah,
and I thought he would lose to Roberto Jimenez. I thought Roberto Jimenez had like size over him, had wins over both the Rotolos. You know what I mean? And
also, coming
here goes
from
the thing about Levi Jones-Leary is, like, as I alluded to earlier, you know what I mean? Like, he's primarily a gi player. He won a $100,000 gi tournament. He's also a SoundCloud rapper.
You told me both of these things on Saturday, and I was like, at my first I was like, oh, Mike's messing with me. And then you were like, no, for real.
I showed you it.
I know. I was like, oh, dude, this is crazy.
Yeah. But he just, like, you know, he's like relatively newer to no-gi. And he beat Joseph Chen at Polaris. He had a good run at the Oceanic trials, but no offense, but the Oceanic trials as a whole are not that deep.
Right.
Right? Their stars are really good. I mean, Kennard, the guy who heel hooked Victor Hugo, came out of the Oceanic trials and stuff. But, like, the depth, right? Like, for example, like, you'll see, like, crazy third-round matchups in the U.S. at North American trials, right? And, like, you're not seeing those, like, dude, like, even in the finals, maybe.
Yeah.
You know? At the Oceanic.
Yeah, I was really impressed with how well he did, especially given that you and I had him out in the first round. So, like, man, I'm not going to underestimate him again. He's a monster.
Dude, he's selling. Dude, like, so he now trains with Lachlan.
It's also good for him. Now, like, you know, Craig kind of phasing out. Now he's got a new star. Like, that's pretty sick.
Yeah. I mean, Craig's been gone for a while. Also, Craig has said that, like, you know, like, Lachlan was, like, kind of like his coach, but, like, more like his training partner.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know? But there's this platform, Submeta, which, like, is like a subscription service to, like, instructionals, right? And, like, a lot of people really like Lachlan's style of teaching. Like, you know, like, he might be better at teaching you things and explaining things than he is actually at doing it himself, which is phenomenal, being that he's an ADCC absolute bronze medalist.
Wait, really? I didn't know that.
Oh my God, that's how he got, like, that's his main, like, fame thing.
I had no idea.
So, what year was it? 2019. 2019, at ADCC, he lost first round in his weight class. It was either Lucas. It was either Lucas Leche, Lucas Lepre, or Leandro Lo. One of the LLs.
Got
Like, first
you.
initial L, last initial L. I'm
It's easy to mix those
I'm
up.
losing my mind right now. Okay, but he lost first round at 77, so 170 pounds. He got put into the absolute, right? He won his first round matchup by submitting the heavyweight champ that year, Kaynan Duarte, right? Then he submitted Patrick Gaudio in the quarterfinals, lost to Gordon Ryan in the semifinals, and then submitted Muhammad Ali in the bronze medal match and took bronze. So he submitted 3 heavyweights.
That's incredible. Yeah, well, good for him. So, anything else you want to say about Levi Jones?
No, just, great tournament. Super impressed. Lachlan should thank him because he's going to sell membership to Saldetta.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm definitely, I gotta figure out, I gotta see that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm getting on there.
So the next one I have written down here is, dude, William Tackett.
What a dog.
Dude,
he easily could have made 80 kilos, by the way, especially with day before weigh-ins.
Easy.
Like, night before weigh-ins. There were people in the 80 kilo bracket who are much bigger than William Tackett.
Oh, yeah.
Like Mateus Denise, Lucas Barbosa.
Hulk,
yeah, they're bigger than William Tackett.
I, just like his brother, I'd never seen a full match of his. I'd only seen highlights. And I was like, oh, yeah, these are like, these exciting young kids. And you spoke very highly of them. And again, I'm like aware of them. But, dude, when I watch that match, anytime you get a David versus Goliath match, like, it's so cool.
Yeah.
And it's not like he like played it safe, like, oh, let me like not shoot and like try to get stuck on bottom or whatever. Like, no, he was aggressive. He went after it the whole time. I was really impressed by him.
Yeah.
That was a fun match in my mind. And
it was.
Look, at the end of the day, he was outsized, and weight classes exist for a reason. But man, he should be proud of himself, and I really
think he is, because I've seen some of the posts on Instagram. He doesn't seem like down in the dumps about it.
Yeah.
Also, I think he's 23. He might be 24.
Right,
like,
he's got time.
He's not even like 70% of what he's going to be.
Exactly. Yeah. I became a fan from that match. And then the last
There's
one...
a third Tackett brother.
Wait, really?
Yeah, he's young. He's like maybe 17 or whatever.
Does he do jiu-jitsu?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, and he's really good. I bet, a couple years, I'm sure he's like on the scene with them.
Yeah. Oh, that's so fun. The last thing I have written in terms of good matches or performances, something you mentioned, Lucas Kennard and Victor Hugo. Not only did he beat Victor Hugo, but he tapped him for the first time in Victor Hugo's black belt career.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't have much else to say about it. Like, that's just incredible.
I didn't even know who he was.
Yeah.
I didn't, you know what? A lot of people didn't. So I listened to some other podcasts, and they're like, yeah, I don't know who he is. Like, he won the Oceanic Trials at 88 kilos. So, he's not big.
Right.
But yeah,
Unbelievable. And it was cool, too, because the angle that you saw it at, like, you could see the full knee, like, just being exposed and, like, getting cranked. And, like, it was just awesome all around. So, good for him. Next thing I want to talk about, or do you have any other like good performances or like people that stand out? Anything you want to talk about?
Is this just CJI?
This is just CJI.
No, that pretty much does it for me. I was really impressed with Felipe Andrews' run, making it to the final. I had him losing first round.
Yeah,
but it was kind of like a shot in the dark going with.
Yeah, I just wasn't super familiar with him, and also like I'm
fairly familiar with him. He's the one who had 269 wins and a 69% submission.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
so we're familiar. I'm familiar. It's just I took the shot in the dark and went with the wrestler.
I was gonna say I'm a wrestler fanboy and I'm a Penn State fanboy. So like, But anyways, there's two, and I'm not saying this. Maybe I should have worded this differently. I have it written as poor performances, but like it's not actually that. It's just performances where. Let's dive into it. I only have two people written down. One is Rockhold. And I think that Rockhold is at that point, which we're going to talk about this concept later when we talk about the UFC, but I think he's at this point where it's like he's been the champ. He's climbed the mountain. We all know he's not in his athletic prime anymore. You know what I mean? And like it's just he's got money, he's got fame, he's got the accomplishments. It must be. What's that? Was it Hagler who said like it's hard to get up and run when you're wearing silk pajamas or something like that?
That was literally. I scrolled past that today. today. It's like, yeah, it's hard to wake up at 5 a.m. to do road work when you're sleeping in satin sheets or silk pajamas
Yeah,
or
dude.
something like that.
It's just like, I think Rockhold's at that point. I think he lost the fire. I think he'll take a karate combat fight for some money and fun. I think he'll do this for some fun.
Yeah.
I don't think he trains as hard as he has in the past, probably. And again, just having that fire to like be willing to die to win.
Right, yeah.
And I don't blame him. You know
No.
what I mean? But I would like to not see Rockhold in the next one. I think it was really good he was in this because he brought eyes.
Yeah.
But I don't think this was his finest performance. The only other one I have written down here, and again, this isn't even like, I shouldn't have written his poor performances, but dude, I just don't think Nicky Ryan's body can hold up to what he technically is capable of. And you made a really good point in our predictions episode where you said that you saw him not in a picture and you assumed
There was just some things you could read through tea leaves that he wasn't coming into this.
Yeah, at 100%.
At 100%.
Whether that's cardio, health, whatever.
Yeah. I'm sure there was an injury.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure, but like my guess is that there's an injury involved there.
I agree.
He notoriously self-proclaimed lazy, tore his ACL and just did nothing to recover. Like you know what I mean?
Right, he just kind of like got back
He's
to it.
still so young. Like he can totally rebound.
Right.
You know what
But
I mean? He
needs
did
to make some
just beat
serious
JT.
changes.
Like if he like made some like committed lifestyle changes, you know, which honestly like lifestyle changes, just be like, you know, like
Healthy.
yeah, like
Remotely.
Like proactive.
Yeah, that's a
You
good
know,
word
being
for it.
proactive and more invested in yourself, which he needs to do. He needs to do this.
Well, like you said, the B team now having like a coach, and you said that no one.
I don't know how much of a coach he's going to be moving
Oh,
forward.
if that was just for CJI.
Well,
I see.
it was just for the CJI ADCC camp. That's what it
Right.
was just for. Now, B team did freaking good.
Yeah, they did.
So I wouldn't be surprised if there's an effort to keep Dima.
I would like to see that for a number of reasons, and I think one of them is, you know, I think Nicky could really do well with that. I really like him. Like the fact that he rolls in with a rash guard that says Gordon Ryan's little brother. That's hilarious. He seems like he's got a good like kind of attitude towards it all, and I think he's really skilled. So I would just like to see him take care of his body and get in good shape.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other poor performances that you would want to talk about?
I mean, I don't know if you call it poor, but just Victor Hugo. Like, you know.
Yeah.
Just like
I don't view that as underestimating. Yeah. I think that was a less.
No, I'm not saying he underestimated Kennard or whatever, in which he he might have.
Yeah.
But I'm not. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying he didn't meet his expectations.
Right.
He underperformed.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you know what I mean?
Agreed. And there were some boring matches, but they're not worth talking about. Anything else you want to talk about in terms of the weight classes, or you want to dive into super fights?
Yeah. So in terms of, let's dive into super fights.
Okay, so let's start with Davies and Dern. I don't have a whole lot to say about it. It was just fantastic all around. I thought that it was a good match. I thought that it was really cool that
I thought it was really cool Mackenzie Dern did the match.
That was exactly what I was gonna say. 2 weeks after fighting,
I thought it was really cool she did the match.
I thought it was cool that Fionn did the match too. Like she had a lot to lose by leaving ADCC, and she was one of the early people too, right?
Yeah.
That was incredible.
She left ADCC without an opponent.
Like, dude, awesome.
You know what I mean?
And I think that it was like historic. That was the highest paid women's super fight ever, right?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. And also
here
her
goes some
speech.
other things about it. I didn't see the speech.
Oh, dude, it was fantastic. It was just her talking about like, trying to grow women's jiu-jitsu, starting to fight for equal pay. It was just like, very uplifting. It was exactly, I hadn't seen a whole lot of her. I did watch one interview after we discussed her, but you described her as like the Taylor Swift of jiu-jitsu. It's like wildly popular, really good,
Everybody
whatever.
loves her.
Everyone loves her. And like after seeing her talk, I was just like, you can't not love her. She's just incredible.
Yeah, she's great.
And I thought the fact that she sacrificed so much going back to ADCC in order to do this super fight, especially without an opponent, just phenomenal all around.
So something she said in like lead ups to this that you might find interesting is she didn't really feel like, like with the fact that ADCC didn't pay much, right? Mm-hmm. And then, then she left, and then Mo on a live is like, oh, for the females to have equal pay, yeah, like they didn't have equal pay because there are only 8 woman brackets and not 16. Mm-hmm. And it's like, we'll make them 16 woman brackets.
Yeah.
Like what is that?
What are we talking about here?
Yeah, you know what I mean? So there's that. And then he was like, oh, same pay? Yeah, no problem. Done. Easy. And Fionn's like, like
Too late.
Well, first off, not too late. Like even worse.
Yeah.
Oh, it was that easy?
Yeah, exactly.
It was that easy?
Oh, I just need to ask.
Oh, I had to leave to get it done.
Right.
But it was that easy for you to do. So you were like that, like douchey, that like that's no problem. Yeah, like why couldn't you have done? Why weren't you doing it already then?
It would have been so much better if he was like, all right, here's the deal. I'm gonna personally go to this guy who's gonna sponsor X, Y, and Z, and now we're gonna get women's pay. Like I'm gonna work for it. That it would be way better.
Because it would show that like. It was difficult to have them have that pay, but it apparently wasn't. You just weren't paying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's that, and other things. She felt like winning it twice didn't really do anything for her. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she said, like, like you're an ADCC champ. Like she's like, if I win it again, it's not really, it's not bumping me.
Right.
Like
the rewards of being a 2-time champ are not 2 times what,
She also said things about like making sure that she's getting paid like as much as she can for everyone else.
Yeah.
Because like she's setting the bar, right? So if Phelan goes and does a seminar for $2,000, well then, somebody else can't ask for $2,000 because Phelan's getting $2,000. Why would I pay you the same as her? Right. So she has to go high.
Yeah.
In order for people.
Right.
Yeah.
She's paving the way, dude. It's cool to see.
Yeah, it's really great.
It's just like I don't have much else to say. The match itself was incredible. She looked awesome in it. Like they both showed up. They both advanced the sport for women. Just not a lot more else to say about it. Just it was awesome all around. So then something that I didn't think we were actually gonna have that much to talk about with it, but dude, I got a fair amount of notes on this.
What?
Gabby and Craig. So first of all, and I think that I probably liked it more than you, given that I like, entertainment. Obviously, it's not a real match.
That's the thing. It's not real.
Yeah, but and I thought that I was gonna leave it being like, oh, I was entertained, but that's it. But that's not all that I took away from it. And so I think it was more than that. But let's get to that. So first off, Craig, best walkout of all time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just hilarious. And it was very Craig Jones, his walkout, Something else I thought was cool is, and I mean, I'm not surprised, but like he was in a position where he could have easily broken her leg
multiple times,
and he could
have hurt her multiple times. Oh yeah, I mean, like, yeah, of course he's not gonna.
Yeah, of course he's not going to, but like, and again, it's obvious, like, of course he's not going to, of course, but it's just like it's cool that he didn't, like, because like he could have and just been like, jiu-jitsu works, bro, but he didn't, which I thought was cool. Not to LeBron.
Dude, hilarious.
So funny. So many like inside jokes, but also like funny enough that just the average person would think it's funny. Like, great. Oh, do I need to speak to you in Australian?
He commented on a Facebook post of mine before, or one CFFC Facebook post about me.
Right.
And it was like, where did Mike Wilkins come from? It was like when I first burst on the CFFC, right? And he goes, I'm gonna take a wild guess and say Pittsburgh. Right? He could even type it in like the Brazilian accent.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I thought that was great to have him on board, and his, announcing and cornering and whatever was hilarious. And then this is where we get into where like it was more than just a spectacle. Gabby's speech, like if you take it, like if you just took the words and you read it, you'd be like, all right. But also keep in mind, like, her English isn't like perfect. And also, I think there was more meaning behind the actual words. It was sometimes she would say something, you're like, I get what you're saying. You know what I mean? And like, I thought it was heartfelt. I thought that like, it was emotional for her to like be able to just like go out and like be in the spotlight again, because she's obviously on the tail end of her career. You know what I mean? And then, you have this giant influx of people who are now watching jiu-jitsu. They would have never known about her, and now they do. And then she's giving this speech, and the audience is going nuts for her, and they're screaming Gabby, and you see her
that was
welling up,
part.
and like and because like it's easy to just look at her as like, oh, she's on the butt end of Craig's jokes. You know what I mean? Yeah. But like it felt like she was in on it.
No,
you know what I mean?
That's the thing. That's like the good part about the whole thing at the end. It's like, well, clearly she was in on it.
Right.
Because, like, you're not going to let it go as far as it went if you weren't in on it, right? But, like, the whole Gabby Craig thing has been going on for years.
Exactly.
Yeah. So they used those years of build-up, and they're like, hey, like, this, like, little joke thing, right? Like, we can cash in now.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right? And, like, not cash in like, a sleazy way. Like,
no.
It's like, hey, now's the time. Right. This whole thing,
the hard work's paying off.
Yeah, let's do it. Like,
yeah. And I think it's cool for, again, her to like get paid for all those accomplishments. And then the other thing is like, I didn't know this until it was announced there. Craig said it, that she gave up her ADCC Hall of Fame induction to do that.
Yeah.
And like, again, the fact that she supported CJI, not for her, she's probably never going to compete in CJI again,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But for everyone else. And the fact that she made it a statement for, you know, women's grappling, and like, it just like, I remember watching that and being like, oh, this is gonna be fun, and like, and then I'm done, you know. But like, when I watched that and I saw the whole crowd cheering, and just like, it made me feel like, and like, it was all love between her and Craig and everyone, and like, it made me feel happy for the sport of grappling. And this is where like you and I are going to differ. It made me feel good for grappling as an insider and an outsider. Like, I'm kind of an insider. I work at a jiu-jitsu gym. I have done jiu-jitsu. I will get back to it when my neck is, you know, back to good. I'm sort of in, but I'm also an outsider. I'm not like you. You know what I mean? Like, you are dedicated to jiu-jitsu. You are legit jiu-jitsu. You breathe jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? I'm not that. You know what I mean? I don't watch every event. So like, I was watching, and like, I could like stand back and be like, oh, the grappling fans are getting what they deserve. The grapplers are getting what they deserve, you know? And then also, like, kind of included in that community, like, I just thought it was phenomenal, and like, it made me feel something I didn't think it would make me feel. Let's put it that way.
Okay, yeah.
So I thought it was great. I thought overall the event was phenomenal. I thought that, like, you know, the big takeaways I've written down are, as it's good to see that the athletes are not accepting the status quo, right? And that they made quick and significant changes to the sport. This isn't just like a little thing that kind of mattered. Like, it very much mattered. It brought light to, you know, women's grappling and some of the inequalities that existed in ADCC. So now those can get changed. And then overall, just for all the athletes, dude, exposure and pay. And what's funny is the pay obviously is significantly better in CJI, but the exposure was what ADCC was like, oh, this is what you do it for. And then CJI is like, oh, not only are we going to pay you, but also you're going to get way more exposure. And something that Craig talked about that I thought is like really, really cool is you can see through like the analytics, like which, you know, grapplers got the higher views. So now they can individually say like, hey, I deserve this much because I can prove to you I pulled these many people, you know?
And they're
like,
still going.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, like, okay, which grapplers got the highest views? Mm-hmm. Well, the ones who were already popular got the highest views. It's now the trickle down. It's like, okay, now who's pulling the after views?
Exactly.
Because those are now the new popular, like the ones who were able to now make a name to get exposure, right? Like, I'm sure Nicky Rod's matches, boom, we all knew who Nicky Rod was. Right, the Rotolas. We knew who the Rotolas were, right?
But now Levi Jones Leary can be like, hey, go to a sponsor and be like, look, like, since this amount of time, my data has gotten, you know, X amount of hits. I don't know how it all works, but the fact that he made it transparent as opposed to being behind a paywall in ADCC, who's pulling in the most eyes, we don't know. You know, I mean, there's one guy we know, but like outside of that, I couldn't compare the 10th best guy, you know, against the 9th best guy who's pulling more. You know, like we just don't know. So overall, man, I thought Craig Jones' Invitational was fantastic. I thought it was great for the sport.
I thought it was great.
I thought it was great as a spectator. Do you have any other final notes on it?
No, he said they're doing it next year, so that's good. So I guess the next thing I would want to jump in, just to put a cap on CJI, although we will come back to it depending on how far we get with the ADCC. We will is what weight classes do you do next?
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know.
Like, would it be better now to like do like, I don't know, like an under 95 and an under 60, or like, you know,
have like a lightweight, middleweight, heavyweight type deal.
Yeah, like,
should they have an absolute division?
So
should they?
It's something they might need to think about doing if they're going to do every year until they can support more divisions, right? And I mean, if you add more matches, how are you going to do that with the alley? Like, you know, there's a lot of logistical things to think out. So maybe doing different weight classes and alternating years,
right?
You know what I mean? Because ADCC, it's every other year right now, right? So let's just say, like, if you did ADCC, if you did it every year, but you switched weight classes, like on the even years it was under 80, it was heavyweight and middleweight, and then on the odd years it's lightweight and light heavyweight, that type of thing. Like,
who knows? It's interesting.
But I'm very interested to see how that goes, and I'm sure they've got some things to figure out, but I'm glad that they're committed to doing it again. Hopefully it turned a profit, stuff like that, so that, or hopefully it is trending towards being sustainable.
Exactly.
Is the better way to say it. Cool. cool.
All right, we're running low on time, so I'm gonna fly through the rest of this. Which luckily most of the notes were about CJI.
Okay.
So let's talk about some ADCC. First thing.
Well, do we want to talk about ADCC if we're running low on it?
We're good. We're good.
Okay.
So real quick. First off, who cares? And I'm serious. Like who? Like
best ADCC in history.
But that's not what I'm asking. Who cares? Like, is it
Jiu-jitsu
the fans?
people care.
Just jiu-jitsu people? Do you think
the fans? Just jiu-jitsu people right now because only 10,000 people watched it when it was free. So just jiu-jitsu fans, not casual MMA fans.
Okay, so
or non-jiu-jitsu fans.
The only things I have to talk, I've got 3 really, and then
well, hold on, I'm not done.
Okay.
So, are you going to watch Levi Jones-Leary's next match? It'll be on Flow in a Polaris.
If it's easy for me to, I will. Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to need a Flow subscription.
Yeah.
So, what do you think?
It's honestly, it's mostly like a timing thing for me. It's like if there's fights on, because most of it's Saturday night, I assume.
Yeah, but it's over the seas, so it'll be like at 1 p.m. probably. Their nighttime is
If it's easy for me to watch, I'd finish up, running MMA practice, shoot home, throw it on. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll watch it.
Do you think 90,000 people are going to do that?
No.
Okay. So.
No, I see what you're saying. What's the lasting effect?
Not the lasting effect. It's like, all right, you know what I mean? Did it make more people jiu-jitsu fans? Did you know what I'm saying?
Right. Are you? Yeah.
Right.
Are they
or are you
fans,
just
or are they
gonna,
CJI fans?
Or are you just gonna come back and watch the next CJI?
Right.
I don't even know that Levi Jones-Leary has a match in Polaris. I just know that he does matches there. So I was using that as an example, right? I don't think that you're gonna try to watch Levi Jones-Leary's next match.
If there's any sort of barrier to entry for me, and I'm higher than just straight up casual, sort of barrier
you
will
even
stop
have
me.
a rationale or something to push you into watching it. It's just that we do this podcast,
right? Yeah.
You know what I mean? So imagine we didn't even do this, and you wouldn't even need to talk about it, right? You know what I mean? You're not going to watch it. I don't think. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I don't think that there was that big a disparity.
Yeah, I'm interested to get more accurate numbers, and we can talk about that.
I refuse to believe that only 10,000 people watched ADCC.
Right on. We don't have to believe it. We're doing this 90s style. Do you want to hear about the stuff I got?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so first off, Marigali hurt.
Yeah.
He was overconfident with his post. You saw he posted feels good to be
Yeah.
What else do you have to say about it?
Yeah, he got thrown twice.
Yeah.
Pixley's really good. Pixley was a 2-time Fargo champ. Good wrestlers, got a great front head series, great Dars. Really dedicated to being good at jiu-jitsu. He's with a great team. So that's definitely someone that you should not be overlooking. Certainly not somebody Marigali got pulled into that too. You know what I mean? So basically what happened here is he got thrown. The crowd went crazy. Seems like the crowd's against him. He doesn't like that.
Right.
He famously was disqualified from the Absolute Championship in the IBJJF for flipping off the crowd. So, you know what I mean? The crowd can get to him and take him out of his game plan, right? So not even just the crowd, it could be your competitor can really get to him and take him out of his wheelhouse. He's so good that oftentimes it doesn't matter because no one's having success against him that could pull him out. But he's the kind of guy, if you were to compare him to an MMA fighter, someone who should be tactically winning the fight, but gets pulled into a firefight every time. And then every once in a while it's going to bite you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that just shows he's he's one step shy of being that whatever perfect exactly. Yeah. So other than Gordon, the only other thing that I remotely care about is that J-Rod got silver.
Yeah, dude, J-Rod had a great tournament. He looked awesome. I was in a poll for ADCC as well. And my predictions, I had J-Rod losing in the quarterfinals, meaning he wouldn't have gotten the wrestle for a medal. He would have finished in the top 8, right?
Yeah.
I had him winning his first match against Achilles Hocha, and then I think I had him losing his second match off the top of my head, to Pedro Marino, who got upset by Ryan Aiken. So yeah, J-Rod subbed. Achilles Hocha and what was a good match, and he's someone to look out for coming up because he's just a kid. Wagner's son. Wagner took a silver. He's 42 years old.
That's incredible.
He took a silver. And his son and daughter were in it in the tournament with him.
That's so wild.
You know what I mean? But yeah, J-Rod, great tournament. He ended up, like I said, beat Achilles Hocha, then beat Ryan Aiken, and then he beat his teammate Chris Wojcik in the semis, who had a great tournament himself, getting into the semifinals. And then he lost to Giancarlo Bodoni, the defending champ, who's now a two-time champ, and he looked like great in the like for a loss, right? He looked phenomenal in that loss.
Yeah.
So stock up on J-Rod, obviously stock up on Nicky Rod, the Rod brothers, stock up on them. I would give a huge credit to Dante Leone. I'd say that'd be quite remiss to ignore the fact that Dante, he got upset in his first round match at his weight class. He lost to Elijah Dorsey, and then got pulled into the absolute, and in the absolute took a bronze. In that process, he beat the champion of his weight class, Mika Galvao, by submission.
Wow.
And then he beat Giancarlo Bodoni, the champ of the weight class above him. Yeah, for bronze.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah, so he beat his weight class champion, the weight class above him champ, on the way to a redemption bronze after, having an upset loss in the first round in his weight.
Shows you he's top level. Do you have anything else you want to talk about ADCC?
Yeah, I want to talk about Kainan Duarte.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care if we talk about Gordon at all.
All right, cool.
Yeah, Kainan Duarte, who will be going against Gordon if it so proceeds in the 2026 super fight. One weight class, one absolute, 8 wins, 7 subs.
Wow.
Right? Kainan is now a 4-time ADCC champ. All right.
What team is he on?
Autos. Autos as a team performed incredible. Felipe Pena won the plus 99. He's not an Autos guy, but he did the training camp at Autos. So counts, right? So then Kainan Duarte won 99, right? Rafael Gudea won the women's 65 plus 65, and Adele Fornerino won the women's 55 kilo and the women's open weight, right?
Wow.
She's somebody who needs spoken about. The lightest, the smallest weight class girl won the absolute.
That's nuts.
Yeah, it's nuts. You know what that's awesome for? Fionn. Same weight class. Same weight class. They're both 55. Like, Fionn would have been in the 55.
Right.
Now, this girl, she has her breakout performance. She wins 55 kilos. So now it's like, ooh, that would have been Fionn if she was here type of thing. Like, and then she goes and she wins the absolute, beating the heavyweight champ in the absolute.
That's nuts.
Yeah, dude. So, like, it was sick. ADCC was sick this year. The 66 kilo bracket was sick. Baby Shark, Diego Pato, Josh Cisneros takes third because who got injured? I can't remember the bottom side. Oh, Owen Jones, who made a name for himself. He's a B team guy. He had a first round upset over Gabriel Souza, and then had a really great win in the second round. Lost his semifinal match to Diego Pato, got injured in it, so he wasn't able to compete in the bronze medal match. Dude, it was super sick. PJ Barch took a bronze at 77 kilos. That's where Mika was gold and Wagner Hocha was silver. PJ Barch, arguably, a lot of people saying that he won that match against Mika, right? Like, you know what I mean? So, like, dude, we've got all this great
Top
stuff
talent,
going on. Yeah, man.
Man, I'm really hoping that
Here
some
goes
of those
something
guys
cool.
end up in CJI next year. Especially, what's the girl's name who won that?
Adele Fornerino.
I would love to see her at CJI.
Yeah, I mean, if they do a bracket, she might consider
Get her
it.
paid.
Yeah, she might consider it. Now, here goes the other thing. There were a lot of submissions in ADCC. ADCC might have had better matches.
Wow.
It might have been more exciting.
Interesting.
More exciting matches. There were, nothing beats the Rotolo Tackett match.
Right.
But also, like, the matches are shorter. And I just feel like, with, like, fighting for the points, right? Like, it just, I don't know, it creates more because, like, one of the things about the Craig Jones scoring system, right? Like you get a good takedown, now you know, oh, I'm winning this round.
Right.
I'm winning this round, right? Don't give up a sweep or whatever and stuff like that. We didn't see much of that though. But like jiu-jitsu this weekend was some of the most exciting jiu-jitsu in both tournaments that I've seen. I was glued to it, bell to bell. For pick'ems, I wish we would have been able to post the pick'ems for the ADCC absolute bracket. Although that doesn't get revealed until Sunday after the finals of the weight classes, so like
Yeah.
it goes quick.
Logistically, it'd be hard.
You know, my little group and I, we did our pick'ems, and I was one match away from a perfect bracket.
Oh,
Dude, yeah, one match
that
away from a
sucks.
perfect bracket. Giancarlo Bodoni getting beat by Cyborg in the semis was the only match I missed. I had everything. I had a perfect bracket going.
That's
Yeah.
a bummer. Real quick, I just want to spit a couple things out. I heard that Gordon didn't look great.
Who'd you get that from?
The internet.
Okay, which one? In the Felipe match?
It said that he won both, didn't look phenomenal, especially in the second one.
Yeah, I think you might maybe you have it confused. Maybe the first one?
Could have just been a bad opinion I read. I didn't watch it.
Yeah, so he beat Felipe Pena 2-0, right? And it was a close match. From what I was told, I didn't see that one, but Vince gave me the rundown. He was stuck in this like bear trap top half guard. He was in top half guard, but his leg was like tangled up
Right.
in what we call bear trap, like a bear trap position. So he won that match 2-0, right? But he beat Yuri Simoes like 21-0, which
Oh,
is like,
okay, yeah. So he blew him out.
dude, it's like in ADCC, scores don't get combined. So like if I pass your guard to mount, like a guard passes 3 and mount is 2, I don't get 5 points.
Right.
You just get 3.
one. Yeah.
You just get one of the
So it
scores.
was domination.
Yeah, dude, he smoked him.
Okay. Well, I got
He
that
had-
information then.
He had 4 guard passes. He had at least 4 guard passes. He took his back, had him mounted. He tried like smothering him with his chest. Yeah, I mean, he couldn't get the submission, but like
Okay, so he's
21
still,
points.
He's still the Gordon Ryan of old.
I mean,
Well, performance-wise, he made it happen.
so here goes the thing. Like for all the talk about his health issues, he still looked really good.
Yeah. Okay. That's kind of what I was trying to get at. Do you think that the audience, the jiu-jitsu audience as a whole, is starting to turn on him now that there's another option other than just like, I'm the best?
No, I don't think
You don't
there's
think
any
they're turning on him?
change. I don't think they were with him.
Interesting. Because the way I look at Gordon is like,
He's the heel,
yeah. I look at him
but
as
he's
like,
been the heel. He didn't become the heel this
I
weekend.
very much respect his jujitsu, and like I want to learn from it, obviously. But like, he doesn't seem like the coolest dude, you know.
Yeah. But he's been the heel for 5 years.
So you don't think anything's changed in that regard? You think it's just more
I
of
don't
the
think
same?
any Gordon Ryan fans have flipped sides
Gotcha.
that wouldn't have already.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like nothing new happened to make them flip. Like
Yeah.
flip
It's not like the
sides.
audience is turning on him now. They've been turned. Everyone's
Yeah,
kind of
like,
still
you
in
know
their,
what I mean? Yeah.
Gotcha. So next question, and this is the last thing that we should talk about with ADCC. What do you think is next for Gordon? Do you think he retires, takes it on against Nicky Rod? Do you think he goes back to ADCC? Do you think he does some super fights? What do you think?
I think it all depends on his health. If I were to guess, if I were to bet on it, like just to throw a guess out there, I think his next match is like a warm-up match before the next ADCC where he goes against Kainan.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think he makes Nicky Rod have to come back to ADCC to compete against him.
Interesting. I think Nicky Rod won't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have anything else you want to talk about with ADCC?
No.
Okay. I had 2 questions for you about the UFC, but I'm just going to make it one.
All right.
So I didn't watch. I
Yeah,
know
me
you didn't
either.
watch. We were driving home, or when I got home, watched CJI, which is a bummer because I love Izzy. Izzy was fighting DDP.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to stick with one question. It was going to be about like DDP. Is he good despite his... It doesn't matter. Do you think it's possible for a fighter in MMA to reach the pinnacle, become a good champion, defend a couple times, like spend some time up there, not just like, I got it and, whatever, and then fall off a little bit, whether it's 1 or 2 matches, whatever, doesn't matter, and then come back
Yes.
and like have another good run?
Yes, I do.
How rare do you think that is?
I think it'd be really rare.
Because the only person who comes to
Rare
mind...
as in, like, what's your... Go ahead.
I was going to say GSP, but now that I'm thinking about it, it doesn't really follow what I just talked about, because he just had one loss and then came right back and was just... Basically was on top that whole time.
Oh, when he lost to Matt Serra.
Right. Like, it's not like,
Yeah.
you know... Adesanya's lost, what, 2, 3? And he's 1-3, I think, in his last 4, something like that. Like, have we ever seen a run like that, and then a guy comes back?
No, but, like, also in Adesanya's defense, right? Like, one of his losses was up a weight at 205. And he's, from my understanding at that point in time, he was not a big middleweight.
Right, no.
So there's, that one's, like, you know, I kind of, like, don't count it.
Yeah.
You know, as far as looking at, like, his ability to do this. And then he lost to Sean Strickland in DDP. Or are you counting the Alex loss in there, too?
I think the Alex loss is probably in the last 4, is it? Or is the...
Well, he's got 4 losses overall, period.
Okay, so it's...
Jan,
Alex,
Alex, Sean, and then he's on a 2-fight losing streak.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel
But
like...
he has a loss to Alex and then a win
Kind of like... Right.
over Alex.
Now, kind of like what we discussed with Luke Rockhold, I think there's like a mental part of it too, where it's like you've tasted the top already, you've made your money, you've got your accolades. I just feel like it's hard to, and I wouldn't know because I've never won anything. I'm more of a Craig Jones type of guy.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like it's hard to have that push again to get back, and I'm not sure if we're gonna see Izzy back on top. I would love to see it, but I don't know if it's possible.
Yeah, I do. I think it's possible.
You think it's possible? Man, I'm really hoping.
Yeah, I
you're
also
right.
think like it's kind of like what we're seeing with like a potential like Max Holloway. Isn't he fighting Tapora?
Man, Max. If Max gets the title back, he
You know what I
did it.
mean? Like
Yeah.
so, like styles make fights. Like yeah.
Okay, we have just a few minutes. Let's discuss our fighters.
Yeah, cool. So we were at I don't know where it is, but we were at the Mountaineer Racetrack and Casino in West Virginia at a made men card. We had 2 of our fighters competing on it. We had Joe Lehman and Bronco Busick. Bronco was the main event. Let's start with Joe.
So Joe, man, he looked incredible. He won first round TKO.
First round TKO.
And what really stuck out to me about it is when we were in the back and we were getting warm, he was real stiff and kind of like just throwing slowly. And I was like, Joe, get loose, get relaxed. Stop trying to hit hard. Just be fast. That's all I was focused on is just be fast. And he told me, he was like, I want to think about punching through his head, not to his head. And I was like, that's fantastic. I was like, aim low and just be fast. And he did exactly that. And it worked out real well for him. So like the fact that he got that last minute coaching, took it to heart, made it happen. And then it resulted in, something as spectacular as that.
He came out, he cracked him right away, stung him right away. The guy shot in, he defended the takedown, got right back to it, cracked him, dropped him, and like you could tell Joe was like, that's it, right?
Yeah.
Like this dude, Joe drops him, and the kid, drops, turns, and covers up, and Joe's just standing there, like
it's gotta
that's
be
over.
done.
But the ref was just like, nope. So Joe went down and hit a defenseless man a couple times until the ref stopped it. Like the guy, rolled over and covered up, and he wasn't being touched. And then Joe walked over and hit him twice, and that was it. Yeah.
Yeah. So good job, Joe. That was awesome.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So Joe's plans moving forward, we're gonna enter a skill development phase here. So, maybe we see him back in the cage very end of the year, early next year.
Yeah.
But I wanna focus on skill development.
Agreed.
Do a skill development springboard right now. Yeah.
So let's talk about Bronco, dude. Bronco, I mean, every time I'm around Bronco, I like him more and more.
Big leg locker. Big leg locker.
So hold on. First off, let's just recap the fight real fast.
All right, go ahead.
Fight's very simple. He goes out, his opponent cracked him with a couple low kicks. Bronco secures a takedown, starts to get back up.
Bro, let's slow down.
Okay,
dude.
okay.
You're rushing it. So, gets hit with a solid calf kick, and I'm like, oh, dude.
A couple of them.
I'm like, he shouldn't take many more of those.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Measures him up, boom, gets him to the cage. They get into some clinch exchanges, trading like whose back's on the cage. Bronco elicits a reaction out of his opponent, where his opponent is driving. Bronco lat drops him.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a takedown. And we're in the back, and Bronco's like, yeah, if he gives me some pressure, I'm going to lat drop him.
Yeah.
And I thought he was joking. I was like, yeah, dude. And then I was like, oh shit, he just lat dropped
Dude,
him.
I've learned this about Bronco. He does not play about like what he says in the back. He is so serious.
No, everything is for real. So anyhow, he latch drops him, and he's like, I'm gonna get to this crucifix position, and I'm gonna elbow him. He says this in the back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, for sure, do that. I'm like, I've always wanted to get to that crucifix position. Like that's like a position that like I would have loved to have gone. I've never been able to. And he's just like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. Like in the back.
Yeah.
And then he just got there. And he's like gonna elbow him. He gets put back into a guard. Is controlling, stands up over him in guard.
And the guy starts working up a little bit, but he's still got a leg.
Yeah, he's holding on to a leg. And then Bronco jumps a leg lock.
Dives onto it. And Mike and I are both like, ooh.
So hold on. So Bronco jumps on this leg lock. So it's Will, myself, and Nico in the corner. And I look over at Nico and I go, I did not advise him to do that. Like those are the best times. Like when you can be in like the corner and like it's like funny stuff happens.
The same thing happened in his last fight. He's fighting a heavyweight.
On the mat return?
Yeah. He starts lifting. I go to Dalton and I was like, yeah, I don't think he should do this. And then like while I'm saying that, boom, finishes it. I was like, dude, Bronco's such a monster.
Dude, such a monster. So he goes for a leg lock. Spoiler alert, doesn't get it.
Yeah, they stand back up.
They get back up and go ahead, you take over.
So then, Mike and I are like, hey, you should be getting a takedown to secure this round. We're calling for takedowns.
Yeah.
He pushes his opponent back, and he's playing this up-down game. And the other corners, too, they're saying, we know what he wants. He's looking for that takedown. So now I know. I'm like, you better set it up. Boom, hits a nice hard right hand to the body. I was like, okay, that was a great choice. And then he plays the up-down game a little bit more, and then he looks low and just comes high and knocks this kid out.
One of those, like, face-forward knockouts, too, where it's just like, whoa.
Yeah, and Bronco didn't follow up and walked away like nothing happened.
Bronco walked away and like looked sad.
Yeah, he was legitimately concerned about his opponent, dude.
He was like, that's a bad one.
Dude, the setup and the feel and the distance, so perfect, dude. Bronco is really good.
He is really good.
And also, this is kind of unrelated to this, but I just thought about this because Bronco caring about his opponent, which he legitimately does. I think there needs to be some sort of like standard thing with commissions or coaches or something, because that guy got up too fast. And the first thing he did, he got up. The opponent, all respect to him, really nice guy. The very first thing he does when he gets up is he walked towards me to like shake my hand and be like, oh, good fight, everything. And he's walking towards me. He's stumbling. Yeah. And I'm like, dude. And like, I'm looking at his coach like, hey man, like, I don't know. And then like, I'm looking at the doctors. They like gave up on this kid. And I'm like,
yeah, dude. I went and brought a stool in.
Yeah, Mike went down, brings the stool in. They don't use it.
I can't even walk.
Yeah.
I'm limping around.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're hurt too. And like, I don't know. I just think there should be like some sort of protocol there. And this dude like can barely walk. He's going and congratulating Bronco. Like his niceness exceeded like him caring for his own health. Yeah. And I think that's like what the commission should be there to do. Whatever. That's neither here nor there. But congratulations to Bronco.
Yeah,
dude.
Great fight, great win.
Yeah. We gotta be done.
All right. Well, hey, that's it for us. We'll catch you guys next time.